Hi students, in the previous video I explained about the constructor and the different types of constructor. So the different types of constructor I explained about the default constructor, parameterized constructor, and the copy constructor. Okay, so these are the three different types of constructor. Now let us see the different ways of calling a constructor. Okay, the ways of calling the constructor. So if you want to call a constructor, you can use this different ways. So the first one is the implicit call. Implicit call, and second is the explicit call. Explicit call, and the third one is the dynamic initialization. Dynamic initialization. So these are the three different ways of calling: implicit call, explicit call, dynamic initialization. So let us see what is this implicit call. So implicit call means calling the constructor by its object. It simply means calling the object. So calling the constructor by its object. We do not specify constructor name here. Okay, so just it's calling the constructor by its object. Here we do not specify any constructor name. So example for this implicit call means just circle C is the object 3.5. So here just I am enter the value here, implicit call, calling the constructor by its object. Now let us see the explicit call. So what is this explicit call? So constructor is called by its parameters. If the constructor is called by its parameter, then you call it as a explicit call. So what is it? Let's see the example for explicit call. So here the circle is the class name, C is the object, is equal to circle 3.5. Here the constructor is called by its parameters. So here the constructor is called by its parameter, then you call it as explicit call. Here is just implicitly you are writing, and this is the explicit. Now coming to the dynamic initialization. So dynamic initialization means first memory is allocated. So first the memory is allocated to the object using default constructor. So in the dynamic initialization, first memory is allocated to the object by using default constructor. Then parameterized constructor is called. So after allocating the memory, then parameterized constructor is called to initialize data members. Okay, that you call it as a dynamic initialization. Means the first memory is allocated to objects. First the memory is allocated to object using default constructor. So by using any default values, or you can just allocate the memory to the objects. After that the parameterized constructor is called to initialize the data members. So first it declares takes the default values. After that the user is giving the values to that particular data members, to that variables. That you call it as a dynamic initialization. The syntax for this is circle C. Okay, circle C is the class name and the object. So now the first memory is allocated to this object C. After that float x. So here is I declare the value. Now I'm just reading this value c in x. So after that c is equal to circle of x. Okay, so this x value will be entered by the user, okay, at the time of running the program. That is that you call it as a parameterized constructors. So this is the parameterized constructor, the circle x. So these are the three different ways of calling the constructor. You can call the constructor by implicit call or explicit call or dynamic initialization. Now let us see the characteristics, the special characteristics of the constructor. So what are the characteristics of the constructors? Let us see. So you have to follow some rules like that. The first one is they should be declared in public section. So if you want to declare the construction, you have to be noted that they should be declared in only public section. Next, they do not have any return type. So did you observe that program? So whatever the constructor, wherever we use the constructor name is same as a class name. So there we are not using any return type, not even void also, not even void. Okay, so first they should be declared in public section. After that they do not have any return type values, not even void. Next, they get automatically invoked when object is created. So already I had said that this constructors will be automatically invoked when object are created. Now, so they cannot be inherited through derived class. So you have to be note that they cannot be inherited through derived class and can call the base class constructor. Means they cannot be inherited through derived class, can call the base class constructor. And next one, like other functions, actually the constructor is itself is a function. So like other functions, they can have default arguments. So you can enter the default arguments. You can the compiler will take the default arguments like other functions. So next, the constructor cannot be virtual. Constructors cannot be virtual. So they allocate some memory space. So if you declare the constructor, automatically it occupies some space in the memory. So they cannot be virtual like classes. So class is a virtual, whereas constructor is not virtual. But here one thing is, class name is same as a constructor name, but both are different. Just using the class name as a constructor name. Here the constructors are not virtual, whereas class can be a virtual. So these are the different special characters that are there for the constructors. Thank you.